We only see with our attention. Fish sleep with their eyes open, and humans sleep with their ears open. That seems impossible. How can a fish sleep with their eyes open? But they do, and we sleep with our ears open. Simply it's a withdrawal of attention, and when we wake up, we reach out and we start becoming aware of things like that, but we don't become aware of them until we pay attention. The radio goes off in the morning. It's only when you pay attention that you hear it. You open your eyes, only when you pay attention that you see anything. So, attention, I like to compare attention to light, to a big light, a floodlight. That's a beach, and we're sitting on the beach, and we're just daydreaming. We're thinking of nothing. That's our field of attention. In front of us, behind us, above us, below us. We're not really attending to anything, so we're at perfect peace, alpha state. But when we start seeing somebody that we know, our attention focuses to like a torchlight or a searchlight or something like that, depending on how intense our attention is. But the attention that we need to do a drawing is very, very intense. That's like a laser light that shines onto the subject, onto the object that we are looking at. So that is how our attention works. So we draw with our attention. Our attention explores the object. Like that, we can look at the little bird, like that, at the little bird. If we go there, we look at the wing and we can see the color, the brown of the color. There we can see the texture, you can see the patterns and things like that. If we look at the outline of the bird, we can follow that outline, trace it with our eyes, like that, and our eyes actually draw the line, or our attention draws the line. I sometimes say eyes, sometimes say attention. To me it means the same thing. So, but for negative shape drawing, which is what I want to concentrate on today, we look beyond the object. We look there, at that space, at that area, the curtain, so on. But we don't see the curtain, we see the void, we see the emptiness. And negative shape drawing is void drawing, drawing the emptiness. So I'm going to draw a little drawing of this bird. I'm going to draw it. I'm not going to try and draw it with one line. It's actually, I did before, actually a bit silly. Just make it simple. Go up there and go around the wing. Get the wing and get the wing that's folded in underneath like that. Now, because I stopped this line, it's easier for me to try and draw a little beak. It's never easy, but it comes down like that. And I draw around a little toe and around the inside toe, come around here. From where the wings are, I can follow the line. If I hold the pencil properly, I'll draw more like this, but it doesn't really matter. And there's a twirly, a twirl at the end. Maybe I've made it a little bit too long. It makes absolutely no difference. When I come down here, I get the heel of the faraway foot, and then the heel of the nearer foot. And this one doesn't have a lot of toes. It's only got one toe. There. That's our little bird, but I did draw this too long, so it's actually a bit of bad drawing. It's a little bit better. Okay, and that's a little bit of bad drawing because it looks like it's got a bump on the head. And then the wing comes up like that. Okay, this is a negative shape study of the bird. The area that engages our attention is the area around the bird, this area here. That is the negative area. I didn't bring a rubber with me, so I can't erase now. I might erase in a little while. So, this is the negative, all around the bird. And the negative area goes off, it goes right off the paper, off here, it goes on forever. The negative never ends. It goes to the ends of the universe. So the bird is floating in, not so much in nothingness, but in the void. So a rock painting is a little bit like that. A rock painting is on the rocks in a cave, or on the cave wall, and it has no limits. This is called a vignette, a drawing which lives by itself. It doesn't go anywhere. But if we want to limit this to make a picture out of it, we have to put a frame around it. Now, when I draw a frame, I always try to draw the frame first. A little bit smaller than that, but that doesn't matter. Might be better. And I'm making my frame squarish. Make sure it closes nicely. Sometimes I draw it twice, but I don't want to. Now, that bird is going to come in here. I'll start by drawing around the head and placing the head in a certain height there, like that. I'll copy the drawing. It's much easier to copy a drawing than to copy anything else. That'll go off the page there. The little beak is like this. This is actually a remarkably good little sculpture. It was sold on the sidewalk in Simonstown, and I really do love it. I saw it, I immediately thought, no, that is something I'd like to buy. I think it's a really beautiful sculpture. Made of, I think, steel. And I can't think how they did the coloration, but the coloration is really beautiful. So now the rump, or the tummy of the bird will go there. A little bit going in there, and then a little bit like that, and it'll come off there. Now this bird is no longer floating in nothing. It is so far. It's also just negative there, negative there. But what I want to do is I want to concentrate on this area, on the area behind there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw from here and enclose the emptiness. Enclose the emptiness. Give form to the void. There. Now this is the energized area, and that is the non-energized area. The positive, where the bird is, where the steel is, where the colors are, that is just emptiness. This is always emptiness. This is the void, and this is there. So this we call, sorry, there, I want to just go back to this because there's a beautiful little negative shape that I've lost, but I'm going to steal it back there between the body and the foot, and then there's also the same thing there between the body and the foot. I like to just mark this area because it's a tiny little negative shape, and it's easier to talk about negative shapes if you're actually showing a negative shape here and there, because otherwise the void, the emptiness around the thing, is just so big that it goes on forever. Now this is negative shapes there, negative shapes, but around everything there's nothing. But in this one we have a negative shape there, a tiny one there, a tiny one there, and we have a big one that comes around like that, like a very funny shaped G. So this is not negative shape. It is, but it's a closed negative shape, so I call this closure. Closure shape. Shape is something with a line that closes in on itself. It's a snake biting its own tail. And closure shape, and this is very good for composition, and it's very good for light and shade work. So this closure shape is also very useful when we're looking at light and shade. I'll move that in nicely. It doesn't have too much light in its body. But now what is different here is I've got some darkness in the foreground. So if I just drew the little bird on its own, which I'll do like I did that one, there, perfectly poised, and come in from its wing, come around its tail and its belly. Find where the legs start. That's enough for now, because that's going to be difficult. And then we got this upturned mouth, beak, coming into the chest, that, and then we get into the complex area of the legs. One toe, two, touching another, long one, and a shorter one, and like that. Then going back with that toe, and that little heel of the bird can come there. Okay, this bird doesn't have too much. Oh, I made a bad mistake there. This should have come up there, and that should come then there. And then there would be another, so it's a negative shape here. And the tail could come down a little bit lower, neater, and that wing could be a little bit sharper. All little corrections. Okay, but we're still working on the negative shape. We're working on the shape around the bird and not the inside of the bird. We're not interested in the mechanics of the wings and things like that, and the eye and the coloration and so on. In this case, we're exploring the negatives there. Okay, then there's a nice negative there between the toes and the leg, and another nice little negative there between that toe, and that toe. So then I can just strengthen this line a little bit. I don't want to make the line darker. I just want to make the line even in strength. And then we go like that, and that. That must close nicely. So that's a proper negative shape drawing. It works quite well. I'm not too worried about that. But now we're going to be wanting to shade this bird. And it's okay, it's easy to shade the bird here. So this is for a shaded drawing. There's not much variation of shade in the bird. Okay, this part is a little bit lighter here. So when I shade it, I can be a little bit lighter there. So I just shade like that. This is going to be darker later on. And this is going to be darker later on. I'm not going to worry about where the wing starts and where the wing ends. I'm not going to worry about where the eye is and so on. I can see that the beak area is a little bit darker, so we darken that area. And so keep shading, 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 shading. The tail is relatively dark, so you always go over the lines. It's a rule of shading. Go over the lines. Always go over the lines. And the chest there, particularly the upper chest, a little bit lighter. The feet are dark. But there's a problem now with our shading. And the problem is here. With our shading, I put the bird so that there's a bit of cardboard showing here. Just here. Now this cardboard needs to be shaded dark. Or dark. That's part of the dark. It's part of the darker pattern. And here is part of the darker pattern. But now our drawing is beginning to be a bit difficult, and it's doing that thing that vignettes sometimes do. If you remember the old photographs of wars of the 18th century, Boer War, American War, Crimean War, and so on, you'll know that a lot of the photographs of the generals fade out like that. And that's also called vignettes, and it's really quite nasty. So that's a typical vignette. But now we want to do the same bird, but we want to do it as a picture. Okay, that's the word I was looking for just now, and I couldn't find. So I can draw down here and make a frame. Whoops, bad. Don't worry if you make mistakes like that. It doesn't matter. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, use charm though. A closure shape. The result of a closure shape there is that here we have a picture. That's a vignette, or a study, or a drawing, or whatever. But this only becomes a picture when it gets a frame around it. That's probably why we use the word picture frame. In a similar way to how we use the word window frame, or door frame, or mirror frame. Okay, I'm interested in this bit of darkness here. It's going to make a difference. And from here I'll go up into that foot. Now I'm going to copy my drawing as best I can. It's not going to be very good. There, come around the chest, come around the beautiful upturned beak. It looks like a singing little bird. And come around there to the wing. Going to change my grip a little bit to make the tail a little bit easier. This grip is for drawing small details. That is why we learn it at school. We learn this grip so that we can write. And then there is a space between the two legs. There's just enough left for it. And that is more luck than anything else. Okay, come around here and go out with this heel. This heel goes off the white paper and into the brown. And then there's a tiny bit of white paper that shows there like that. That white is a light shape. And we don't have many other light shapes in this picture. We have shadow shapes. But wherever we see now a negative shape, the negative shape would also now function as a light shape. There's one. And there's a tiny little one there. And there's that one there. So these are now light shapes. Now, the enclosed area, or rather the what was a positive area in the other drawing, is now our shadow area. And the bird's going to be shadow. What's positive is going to be shadow. I don't want that to be negative. So we take around here and we enclose the area of light. Like that, and enclose it nicely there. Now the light is enclosed. The dark area here has no life. It's just nothingness here. It fades out. If I rubbed out that line, the light area would go on forever. So now I can shade this bird again. Shade in the same way as before. Nice and loose. Nice loose movements of the wrist. My hand was touching the tabletop. It was a mistake. Not a mistake, but that's unfortunate. I don't want that to happen. I'll get untidy. And then I'll also shade in exactly the same way I'll shade this. Always going over the lines. Don't think it's okay to go over the lines. No. You must go over the lines. Because if you don't go over the lines, you don't create atmosphere. So you work over the lines. So children have to learn to do coloring in books so that they don't go over the lines. That is so that they don't step over the lines, you see. So now we have light shape. Oh, I'll put it down there. Light shape. And that makes it possible to do a painting or a drawing. So I could do the same one there, but I don't want to. This is dealing with this area of light shape, and this is a study. Now shading, when we do this, shading changes a little bit. I'll write it down here. Shading becomes something else. And that something else is tone. Tone as in a painting, oh, tone as in a photograph. Tone got cut off there. That's unfortunate. Okay, shading becomes tone. So this is a method for making pictures. Yeah. Picture again. Picture. And this, as well as being a method for making pictures, it's an incredible method for making composition. That's enough for today.